live from the MKBuzz. This is Verne Harnish. Welcome, Verne, in the bus. You're very enthusiastic about our school bus. This is our first live broadcast that we're doing in English, so we're happy to have you here, and we've got two other guests. Pieter van Osch, he is the organizer of today, Spark Leadership Foundation, and we've got Floris Koumans of the Orange Pearl Innovation Group. Today we'll talk about growth. Growth is everything that we're doing today. Verne, your masterclass, it's been around the world, it's been there for many, many years. For me today is the first time I've read the books, I've done the math, but today you're taking us to a different level.
Good.
Please
Good.
Take us there.
Well, first of all, we've been talking about a country with gazelles excels. And you guys know the news. I mean, things are down, and folks are needing jobs, and we've got to get these economies going. So it's the tools that we found that companies need to implement around people, strategy, execution, and cash to finally be able to scale up their venture to a size that they want to get it.
In Holland, we've got approximately 10,000 fast-growing companies. That seems like a lot on 1.2 million companies in total. Today,
about the right percentage. That's about the right percentage.
That's the right. Is that the right percentage? Is that the same in America?
Yeah, it is.
We've got over 140 people in the room, Pieter.
Yes.
Does that seem a lot to you? I mean, it's crowded. Everybody is.
It is crowded. It is sold out, and of course, the more people, the better. But this is really a very good number to get the inspiration and also to get the work done, because many entrepreneurs are here with their teams, and they need to talk and synchronize and make plans.
So it's like a management course, but a lot of companies brought employees. That means that they have a certain amount of employees. Is there anything that you can say, Verne, about the number of employees you need in a company to really start using the Rockefeller habits?
Yeah, it's interesting. 96% of companies never get to $1 million in revenue. That's why we set that as the threshold for membership in EO. So first of all, to get above $1 million, you're already in rarefied space. And then only 0.4% get to 10 million. And above. And so for our stuff, we're really focused on those that have gotten beyond startup. They've gotten beyond themselves, an assistant working out of a spare bedroom that they might have there at the house. And this is serious tools for companies that have made the $1 million leap, and particularly somewhere north of the 10 million on their way to $1 billion.
And that means, is there anything you can say in number of employees? I mean, a lot of companies struggle to that first 10 FTE touch point?
Well, I was kidding, but I'm half serious. Most entrepreneurs I know can't stand human beings. And
I recognize that.
Exactly, and as a result, they don't get beyond them and an assistant. It takes a different person to finally say, you know what, I need some help. I can delegate. I can get some other folks to do it. So there's a natural setting about 8 to 12 employees, kind of you and a bunch of helpers. Then if you take 7 times 7, it's about 50 employees. Another beautiful size company. You still know everybody's name, but you're big enough to have the photocopy machine you need and the other systems. Then you've got to do another leap from 50 to kind of 350. In between is kind of no man's land, again, where you're big enough but not quite big enough in order to make the leap. And it's all about just kind of getting out of your own way.
Floris, if you take this to your company, I mean, could you talk us through what your experience is and how this whole Rockefeller habits basically influenced your leadership?
Well, I got to know and learn about Rockefeller habits actually when I became a member of the EO, which was about 7 years ago. And I saw Verne when he first came to Holland. Now I'm here with my management team. I think it's 2006 or something. Yeah. So in 2006 I saw him the first time. Actually, every time he's around, I see him. I've also seen him in Barcelona, of course, but.
So you were a guy in Barcelona.
And everybody in my company, every new employee gets the book. So everybody, and even if they leave the company, can keep that book. But that's the book they're gonna read before they even start.
And why is that? To get the mission out? Or?
Because I want them to understand what entrepreneurial spirit is and how my thinking works. So when they enter the company, we actually have implied the Rockefeller habits in to quite some extent. And if they fall into this just out of the blue, out of some other company, and they've never seen this before,
they have to read the book.
It's better to learn the background of it, and to see why that works and how it works, and then they can understand why we have these meeting rhythms, for instance, why we absolutely want them to make their own plans. So every unit makes their own plans.
If you're talking about your management team, how big is it?
3.
3?
Yeah.
And how big is your company?
Next to me, 3 people. 36.
36, and in revenue?
About 12 million.
12 million. Yeah. So you're in the good guy.
He is. He's in the rarefied earth, less than 0.5%.
If you're talking about EO, are you talking about entrepreneur organization?
Yes,
Can you tell us more about that?
Well, it's an organization I founded in 1987. So we just celebrated our 25th anniversary, and
congratulations.
It's about realizing that you can't do this stuff alone. That you need some other folks that you can learn from, you can talk to, you can share kind of in confidence what some of the challenges are, because it's lonely up there at top. And so it really was an organization to both, care for each other, share what it is that we've learned, and have a good time along the way.
Peter, if you're talking about spark leadership, and you're talking about getting basically Dutch businesses in the growth rates that Verne's talking about, and that we've got Floris as an example of, what is it that Spark Leadership is doing actually in the Netherlands? What's your program after today?
Actually, what we are doing is helping entrepreneurs dream bigger and offer them the tools to make their dreams happen. The program after today is we have some master classes to make this happen. What is started and initiated today. There is a masterclass with Margaret Heffernan on people, because we discovered today that people is the single most issue with growing companies. And we have annual programs where we guide with the entrepreneurs and their teams to help growing their company, and that's what we do.
So basically, you help entrepreneurs implement the Rockefeller habits.
We help them grow, and we use Rockefeller habits as a tool because it works
as a method.
Yes.
Talking about the Rockefeller habits, I used to work for Exxon. That was my first job.
Ah, you did. Interesting.
Basically, I've seen it at work in a large company.
Yes.
But if you take the 5-6 elementary building blocks of the rhythm, could you talk us through that?
Well, first of all, he was unbelievably disciplined. Devout Baptist, accountant by training. You wouldn't want to party with this guy much, but he became the wealthiest guy on the planet by a factor of 3. And one of the keys was he found the choke point, the X factor in the industry, and he gained control of it. It's one of the things that we're going to talk about next here after lunch is what is the real choke point of the industry, and if you can gain control of it, you will dominate that industry globally, which is what he did in the oil industry. And then from an execution standpoint, he was adamant about having data in every day from his Russian oil fields. Look, they didn't have internet and cell phone and all that, but he put in one of the most leading-edge telegraph systems so they could telegraph him the data from the Russian oil fields back to his office in New York. And then he had the daily huddle. He met every day with his 9 directors, and they had lunch. The word company means to share bread. And they talked through what they needed to do. Now, folks think this is crazy.
The word company means to share.
Yeah, think about it. If you look at the Latin derivative.
Compane.
Yeah, compane. And what I think is interesting, 100 years later, Steve Jobs, rest his soul, design was the thing that's always driven Apple. Steve had lunch almost every day with Jonathan Ive and the design team.
Chief developer.
That's right, a designer. So he put his time where his strategy was. We've talked about it today. You can put whatever you want on the one-page strategic plan. Show me your calendar and where you're spending time, and that's your real strategy. So we understood setting priorities. He understood about the importance of this meeting rhythm, and he understood the importance of data collecting and using that to drive his decisions on a daily basis.
Looking at implementing these steps, it does seem pretty hard. I mean, you have to be disciplined. You and your team have to be disciplined to do this.
Well, the thing is, what happens if you don't? There must be something else then, right? So what would you have if you would not use Rockefeller habits? And would that create the same energy and the same, for me, the key word is alignment. If you do, most of the companies, especially my company, doesn't do one single same thing. Yeah? So we do a lot of different things. We create lots of innovation, and within the company there's different companies and groups, and we're all over the place. So to get that energy, to get that energy flowing in the same direction in a positive way, that is basically the essence of Rockefeller habits for me and my company.
We were talking about that 90 day goal, that quarterly goal. What's your quarterly goal?
Well, I'm going to have a knee operation the 17th of October, so my last quarter is a bit cut in the middle. One of the things, my top priority for the last quarter was to hire a legal specialist, because I looked at my agenda. This is what you can see if you really are working on, and actually I spend way too much time on legal issues, on contracts and stuff like that, and I don't want to. So I needed somebody who I could hire and really give this to in my team. So she will be I found her now. She'll probably start 1st of October. We're just about to sign that contract.
That's the who thing.
The who question is big, always.
Should you do it yourself
first.
Or find the right person?
And then secondly, before the 17th of October, I want to make another who decision. We have more or less discovered that we need more marketing muscle, because actually the sales guys and the marketing team, they're working very hard, but we have put up so much investments in new stuff all around the world that we need to focus more on market. And that's another little disease you see in many companies. People say they're focused on their market and their customer, but if you look at the percentage of the entire energy of the company that actually is spent on the market and the customer, is ridiculously much lower than you would think. And I came to realize that over the year. So we're tweaking up.
In the masterclass you're giving right now, that was one of the main topics that you were talking about, marketing.
It is. Yeah, one of the top two weaknesses is an ill-designed, not fully functioning marketing department separate from sales. You can't really have the two together. They're two different personalities, two different activities. And as we discussed, the marketing department's number one function is to find the right 7% of the market to go after and give definitive lists to salespeople. Because if you let salespeople go after any low-hanging fruit, it will just defocus the company and hurt margins dramatically.
And if you organize marketing this way, sales becomes an operational process, and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And more focused.
And more focused.
It is.
And less error.
And get the salespeople the data they need. The salespeople don't want to do any of that analysis.
Get the salespeople the data they need.
In order to close the deal. You know, the intel on the competition and
or even a good presentation.
Exactly, or even a good presentation.
Just a good presentation. They cannot make the presentation. They know how to give it.
That's right.
How to create a fantastic presentation. That's
right.
another thing.
Yeah.
Give them tools.
Looking forward to the next of the masterclass. You've talked about the 4 basic building blocks: the people, the strategy, the execution, and the cash.
Yes.
We're talking about people.
Yeah.
We did an analysis in the 140 people in the room, and people was the main thing that we had to focus on. The war on talent.
Yeah.
Could you talk us through that, please?
Yeah. And it's not so much that there aren't people available, but just so happened, I just got Seth Godin's, the big marketing guru's blog, which I get every single day, and he addressed the war for talent literally in his blog, and he said it's not that there isn't talent, it's talent that doesn't have the right attitude, because you've got to hire for kind of attitude and culture fit, and then you can train the skill. We have a tendency to do the opposite, and if you bring folks in just for the skill, but they don't have that energy, that enthusiasm, that entrepreneurial spirit, it's just not going to fit. And those folks are hard to find.
And expensive.
And
so increase your...
Well, we're going to talk about how if you have an open position,
that's a different...
you need to get at least 20 to 40 applicants. And by the way, that is a marketing function. Marketing's needed as much to attract talent as you need to attract customers. And folks don't think about that. So we're going to drill into that right after lunch.
And for closing, Spark Leadership, today you have this big meeting. What's the next masterclass that we can follow?
The next masterclass is on the 31st of October, and that's Margaret Heffernan leading us and helping solving us the people problem.
Yep.
And then on the 20th of November there is another masterclass, Rockefeller Habits, and on December 11th there is a masterclass, Rockefeller. And that brings everything together and get you ready for 2014.
So basically, you take up the challenge of planning for 2014 in 3 masterclasses.
Yeah.
More about that on www.sparkleadership.com, I presume.
Sparkleadership.nl.
.nl. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Floris, thank you for being here. We're going to enjoy this afternoon. Pieter, thank you for hosting today and bringing Verne again to the Netherlands. And Verne, thank you very much. We'll see you in the next show at the end of the day.
You got it.
Okay.
And excited to see this bus.
I'm so happy that you're happy with the bus.
Yeah, got it.
We're creating it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.